Football is back. The best league in the world has returned, and so it'd only be right to predict it. What can possibly go wrong there? Yo guys, how we do, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I will be predicting the 2023-2024 Premier League final standings. And so we begin with the worst team. And for me, Sheffield United will finish dead last. Their signings so far haven't been of Premier League standard, and combining that with a side who didn't score loads last season in the Championship, I just don't think they'll survive this season, and it's going to be a tough one for them. In 19th, then I have Luton Town. Unlike Sheffield, they've brought in some Premier League experience with Krul and Barkley, who are great signings on their day, but nearly always better than what Luton had. I think they'll be fine for the team. And I also think Kenilworth Road will be a very tough away ground for most other Premier League teams. In 18th then, as we swiftly go on to the final relegated team of the season, I have Everton. I think this is going to finally be the season that the Toffees go down. They've survived for about 2 seasons now, and I think this third will be too tough. They haven't signed any major players, and their current squad aren't just up for the job with every recruitment on every other team then. For 17th, I have Bournemouth. They've had a decent signings here and there, and their squad's looking alright. They won't have an amazing season, but I think they'll just survive, and that's their job to do, and they won't die of the second season syndrome. Then in 16th, I have Nottingham Forest. They've made some good signings and are looking like an exciting squad in there, but it won't be easy. But I think they'll be tough and they'll survive, and 16th is the place where they'll finish. In 15th, I have Wolves, and I'm going to keep it really short here. They've only brought in Doherty, and they've lost Ruben Neves, who's arguably their best and most important midfielder. So it's going to be a really tough one for the Wolves this year, and 15th it is there. And to finish 14th, I have Fulham. They've lost Mitrovic, who is their goal-scoring machine, and his replacement, Raul Jimenez, is not the greatest form. That's why Wolves would sell him to direct competitors, because why else would they do that as a Wolves? They do have a strong defensive team, but the goals will be their problem. And even more so if Willian decides to leave the current amount of rumours around him. In 13th, I have Burnley. Yep, Burnley. They have a good squad with some good new signings, and they're playing exciting football on company, and should allow for good results. Their signings with the likes of Trafford, Sander Berge and Redmond are really good, as they're bringing in a good goalkeeper, an all-round midfielder, and some Premier League experience, which is going to be really for such a young squad. In 12th, I have Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace and exciting, but what they will do, they'll finish on 40 odd points, and it's what they've done for the last 10 or so years. The only thing is Zaha's leaving, and that could be tough for them, but I think the new contract for Elise is great for the club, and I don't think they'll go down, but it's just going to be Crystal Palace season. I'm going to guess they'll finish on 41 points. That's my guess for Crystal Palace. In 11th then, I have Brentford. The squad has only changed really with Flecken coming in for Raya, who's gone to Arsenal. So they should be able to go of last season and continue their decent form without too much change to the strategy. Then in 10th, I have West Ham United. They finally made some signings after they didn't sign anyone in the beginning of the transfer period like they did last year, and that turned out to be a fatal mistake. But with Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse, they'll be good, because they've got their Rice replacement, who is not really at the heights of Rice yet, but will do the job, and James Ward-Prowse's just gonna give you the set pieces. He's gonna give you assists. It's good. It's good for West Ham United. But just like last year, it will be difficult for them to combine both Europa League football and the Premier League. But they've learned from last year as they did it then, and so they should improve on that. For ninth place, I have Aston Villa, with a high probability of European football now. Only Hibernian to beat. I do think they will suffer under the high amount of games, but new signings such as Pau Torres will allow them to do well, and Emery's side shouldn't suffer too much in the Premier League. Then for 8th place, I've gone Brighton. They just seem to be able to produce £100 million players like it's nothing, like it's thin air. Now they've got Mitoma and Chisco and Estupinian playing great football, but they've also signed some great players to stack the squad up, and that's what you need to do when playing in football. And so I think they'll do well in both European football and the Premier League. And so from 7th onward, it can really go into any directions. But I've decided to go for Newcastle United in 7th place. I don't think their squad depth will allow for good seasons in Europa League combined with Premier League, and so they will prioritise the domestic league. Also, they don't really have the experience in combining the two. As for the signings, they've been decent, but too little to fully get both competitions going strongly there. For the first Europa League spot, I have Manchester United, and I think the other top 6 have better squads. That's just it. Also, I think losing David De Gea will have a much greater impact on the club and on the squad than people think right now. And it's going to be a tough season for them, and they'll have their games off. They'll also have their good games. Højlund is a very good signing, but to just have Højlund with Rashford and then sometimes an Antony up front, it's just not going to be enough for Champions League. It's not Champions League worthy. Then for that second Europa League spot, 5th place, Tottenham Hotspur. They're looking alright right now, and even though they've lost Kane to Bayern, the foundations under Ange, whatever his last name is, are looking good, and it's better than the last ones under Conte, Mourinho and Espirito Santos. So the squad's looking the same, but I think Ange will get the club running. The first Champions League spot for me will go to Chelsea. Although they've had loads of pressure, and the fact that they won't have midweek games in Europa is going to be good for them. They'll have time to rest, they won't have to think about that one, which means the pressure is just going to be on the Premier League, and the signings that they made last season are now just going to get in, they'll fully settle, they're going to be into full use. That's why I think Chelsea are going to be 4th. 3rd are Liverpool. They'll come back. I'm sure Jurgen Klopp will make the team, and even though the signings of Caicedo and Lavia haven't worked out, they should get over it. And with Endo, it's not the best, but I do think that Liverpool have just got a squad with their young players that should be able to get 3rd for this season. Then we go for it. The champion of the 23-24 Premier League season. For me, it will be Manchester City. I really do hate to say it, but their squad is looking too strong to be over the season's length there. They are coming back from their triple, and Pep's just going to be determined to win it all again. They've lost some players to Saudi, but they'll got Kvadio back. It's a shame Kevin De Bruyne's out with an injury, but I know they've got the midfield depth to allow that to happen, and that's why they have so many midfielders there. And that just leaves Arsenal 2nd, which I think is going to be alright for them. 2 second places in a row for Arsenal after a few years prior. It's going to be good. and I think Rice will really do well and fit into the team, and it really raises the level of the squad. But they'll just fall short again this season. So that will be it. Thank you all for watching this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below and let me know your prediction there as well. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe for more content like this. Goodbye.